about 10 miles west of downtown Boston. Our nor'easter continues to rage. It's very cold out here. Air temperature about 20 degrees. The winds are now picking up from the northeast. I'd guess anywhere from 15 to 25 miles per hour. Snow has gotten a lot heavier as well. When we got here about 2 hours ago, the roadways right at the toll plaza were just wet, but now they're very much snow-covered. Traffic is definitely picking up. The plows are out. We heard a report out of Boston. They have 1,000 plows out on the road right now. And once again, the crews are doing the best they can. Snowfall rate, I would guess, at about 1 inch per hour. We've heard a lot of reports of a lot of accidents on the major arteries, including the Mass Pike behind me, as well as the inbound routes from the north, including I-93, Route 3, and Interstate 95. And just got a report of a bad accident up on Route 3 at Route 2 to the north of town. Again, at Logan Airport, they're very optimistic today. They have scheduled about 40 departures between 6 and 9 a.m. Now, again, they have travel delays coming in from the airport south of here at Newark and LaGuardia and also at Philadelphia, so they're going to cope the best they can, and they have about 10 departures scheduled, or 10 arrivals, I should say, so we'll see what happens. One runway now open, but I'm sure they're going to get backed up very, very quickly. The traffic at the airport just starting to pick up right now. Bruce?
All righty, thank you very much, Bill, for that report. And Bill will be giving us reports live from the Newton area, Massachusetts, outside of Boston throughout the course of the morning as the storm system continues to develop. A little more optimistic news, though, speaking of the Boston area south around the Cape, the winter storm warning has been canceled for Martha's Vineyard, and the winter weather advisory canceled for Nantucket as it's changed over to plain old rain, and they anticipate it staying rain as opposed to any ice and snow. But there is some freezing rain and drizzle around New Haven, Connecticut, and around Bridgeport on the southern Connecticut coast, and you get out to around Islip, Long Island, White Plains, New York, even Philadelphia reporting, Trenton, New Jersey, some reports of freezing rain and drizzle, and around Harrisburg, so that's a few problem areas to be concerned with. This storm has had a very volatile history, and as we look, we've noticed it came through the Rockies, swung straight down the spine of the Rockies, and that was the main low that came through the Rockies and the Mississippi Valley and through the Appalachians, but now we're seeing it slip some of that energy to the low that's developing off the Delmarva Peninsula. Very typical of this type of storm. The cold air is already in place, thus now we add the moisture. And we're talking about snow, and plenty of that running across central and northern New England. Reports during this past hour, some very heavy snow around Ithaca, New York. Moderate to heavy snows around Rochester, Syracuse, Utica, and Glens Falls. So a good swath across central New York is where we're seeing some of the heaviest snows occurring at the present time. And then across northeastern Ohio, moderate to heavy snows and blizzard conditions across northern Ohio around the Cleveland metro area. We take a look at a satellite picture. Let's quickly look at that with the radar. And again, you can see all the moisture sliding on through. Things ought to begin to ease up in Ohio a little bit shortly, but for the rest of New York State, northern Pennsylvania, and central New England, we still got a whole lot more snow to come before all is said and done. We'll talk more about where that snow is heading, how much you might expect as we go to the studio in Weather Will Ann in Hazard.
We're talking about Scranton, PA. It looks like Interstate 81 is going to be a problem there, but for, once again, getting to the airports is going to be a problem for sure on some of the major interstates. And then for you pilots, look at the IFR conditions beginning to pop up now throughout much of the Northeast because of snow, blowing snow, reduced visibilities and some icing too. That's going to be a major concern. And we're looking at some fairly strong winds at the surface and also at aloft. Not so bad at 5,000 feet or at 10,000 feet, but we're going to pick up some much stronger winds now at the jet stream level. Take a look at that jet core right now beginning to move through eastern Texas and streaking on towards the northeast across all of New England now. Winds here easily exceeding sometimes better than 140 knots at 34,000 feet. Now pilots, don't forget to get your up-to-the-minute personal briefing before Des Moines, Iowa, Milwaukee, Madison, Chicago, Indy, even Columbus, Ohio, within the next 24 hours. We'll be watching our eyes on this one for sure. Not a lot of moisture to be working with this system because the Gulf is going to be basically closed for business. But again, it should be producing a band of 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches of new fluffy snow throughout the Midwest and the Western Lakes during the next 24 to 36 hours. This is our big storm to talk about right now. Let's zoom into it right now and show you exactly what's going on. Heavy snow is coming down just to the west of New York City, also across much of northwestern Massachusetts this morning. To the west of Boston, looks like around Utica and Ithaca up towards Glens Falls, New York. That's where the heaviest band of snow is occurring at this hour. Back into northeastern Ohio too, like around Cleveland. Gusty northeasterly winds better than 30 miles per hour there. So we're looking at some major snows coming down, some major wind too. And if you happen to be living right around, let's say Scranton, Pennsylvania, and along Interstate 81, a big-time ice storm overnight. It's now beginning to change over to some snow, but I'm sure there's a lot of downed trees and power lines there, and a lot of you folks don't even have any power this morning, and probably won't have any more for at least the next 24 hours before this storm begins to taper off, and the crews can get back in there and take care of the situation. That's a look at the northeast. Here's a snow history now during the last couple of days. Since Monday, we saw the bigger snows begin to pile up over northwestern Arkansas, heading towards St. Louis and Evansville, Indiana, and we saw during the last 24 hours some of the heaviest of the snowfall begin to reoccur and begin to pick up for sure throughout much of Pennsylvania, in the New York State, and now the heavier snow is just west and north of New York City. This is our forecast.
3 inches in a few spots like around Abilene, and then yesterday it began to swing up through the Ozarks, and as it did, it brought some locally heavy amounts of snow, a narrow band, but in reports of upwards of about a foot of snow being reported across portions of the Ozarks. Now as we work our way farther east, so did the storm, 3 to 6 inches into southern Illinois and Indiana, and now as you get into northeastern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, there are reports of about 10 inches of snow in the downtown area of Erie, Pennsylvania, around 8 inches, 7 to 8 inches around Warren and Youngstown, Ohio. The Cleveland Hopkins Airport has 7 inches, and blizzard conditions, blizzard warnings out northern Ohio, winds gusting to 40 miles an hour off the lake, blowing and drifting the snow around. And then we're seeing 3 to 6 inches of snow across much of southern New York State, northern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, on into central New England. As Bill said, snow in Boston coming down at the rate of about an inch per hour. Here's a look at the situation right now. As we can see, the low pressure areas, this is a low that came across the country, and now it's beginning to shift some of that energy to that low pressure system developing offshore, which is very typical of these systems. And what that will continue to do is pour in some warm air, some moisture, but particularly the moisture is most important. Now, the cold air is not going to be eroded across central northern New England, New York State, and Pennsylvania, so we're going to be seeing that snow continue to pile up. But as you get into the southern parts of New England, around Long Island and southern Connecticut shore, you're talking about a little freezing rain and drizzle around JFK, around Islip, around Bridgeport and Groton, Connecticut, and New Haven, a little snow and freezing rain and drizzle mixture, even on into areas around Trenton, New Jersey, and White Plains, New York, some freezing drizzle being reported. So it gets a little nasty here, to say the very least. Here's a look at the satellite radar composite, and again you can see the mass of moisture just moving on through as we get the one low pressure area here and the other one just offshore, pumping in the moisture, and it continues to bring the snowy weather, generally speaking. Although even in Philadelphia now, we had rain almost all through the evening. Well, now it's begun to get a little colder air with northerly winds, and it's shifting and changing to a little bit of freezing rain and drizzle in the Philadelphia area right now. Snow is beginning to taper off over southern Ohio, but still northern Ohio has the blizzard-like weather. So that's a look at the situation across the Northeast. We'll continue to update you with live reports from Bill Keneally in Massachusetts, but right now we go back to the studio for a look at your forecast.
Within the next 24 to 36 hours. A good chance of more precipitation. This will all be in the form of mainly snow and at times mixing with some freezing rain. Let's zoom into the northeastern part of the country and show you a lot of white.
radar here in the Northeast. Snow, a lot of it. Boy, it's coming down from Erie to Albany and right into Boston. Down south, little drizzle, freezing drizzle around New York City and Philadelphia. And as we take a look at our trouble spot of the day, it's right here in the Northeast. Mixture over the Cape, some freezing rain coast of Connecticut and into the city. There's been a mixture, mixed as far to the north as Danbury, right there on I-84 there. It's a freezing rain and some snow. That snow's moving out of Ohio, tapering off, but the northeast part of the state getting the backlash and flurries and light snow coming down the Appalachians. New storm winging into the plains. More snow, freezing rain, and rain with that one. Rain moves out of Florida, but there'll be some storms in Dade County until that moves out. Then the winds really rev up in the west. High winds moving into Denver today.
Presenting the ultimate tire for your sport utility vehicle.